Wish there was like somebody cloth we could put over that.
All right, scoochy over here. Let's. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Stop our Bollywood. Stop Bollywood. I think I can do full screen. What do I do full screen?
Should be. Well, look, is it? Pull that down a little bit and see. Is it? Can you make that Dropbox go away? See if it's right. Yeah, one of those. Is it not? Oh, there you go.
I don't. Well, we're trying to start it.
Make it so we can see it.
Oh no. Oh, it's because.
I don't know what to do about that.
You think it's coming from this?
He's.
It's not that one. That one. You put that one.
That one. Up high, maybe. I think it's up high. Can you step up on the thing? Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
If you don't mind, just sit it down. That one doesn't have a pin.
Yeah, yeah, height. Is that the one?
I got it. It's dim as I can get it. But
Oh, it's that one. Look.
that, oh, yeah.
It was that one. Okay.
Thanks, Smith. That helps.
We still can't see though.
I'm just gonna have to live with it.
Yeah.
That's as good as we can do, I think. The outdoor ones too.
Where
Close
is
that door to see if it
Yeah, where's
helps.
that glare coming from? I know, that's what I thought of.
She's gonna close that door. That might help a little bit. I'm gonna brighten this as much as possible. Just do it with your hands. Maybe we'll get her.
I wish we knew where that glare was coming from. Oh, it's better.
That's better.
That's
I
better.
see you as well.
Yeah.
Scoochie, you scooch over
Okay.
here. You're let's scooch, I think. Okay. Where's that coming from?
I don't know.
The back.
Closet.
In the back. Yeah, you go through the stairwell.
It's coming from.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we can get her. I think like I can see me pretty good if you come over a little bit.
Okay.
I think we can be better.
Okay.
Okay, so hey, Bailey.
Yeah.
So she hasn't joined yet, I assume. Is she waiting for me to do something? I'm afraid.
Send her a link.
Yeah.
So she should be able to just join. It's already started. 'Cause you're in.
Yes.
So yeah, you should be good to go.
Maybe she's just gone in yet.
Is the view set for speaker? I think it's like. Sorry, I mean.
No, full screen. Well, we
Yeah.
full
I
screen.
can, yeah.
Where will it say if she's?
Can you hear us, participants? I figure it says like, oh, yeah, she hasn't come in yet.
Is the sounds? hooked
It's
up?
been working okay, but I don't know. Should I check it? Make sure it's the system preferences going.
Yeah, that may be, yeah.
Says bookstore, but I don't know that it's actually doing it because I don't hear it.
You may have to turn it up.
Turn it here.
Yeah. Okay, it's on. So yeah, so you're good. You're good.
There's a minute of a delay.
And you're not on mute, are you? So perfect. So that means there's not gonna
It
be
should
any
be
echo.
okay.
So as soon as she joins in, it should.
Okay.
should
Okay.
pop up.
Okay.
Picture.
It's all right. Okay. I mean, everybody's cool. I know. It's what it is.
Okay, where are the lights?
Go through the curtain,
In the grotto?
go through the curtain, out the back door, and there's a panel. And I just hit a bunch of, I don't know, I just hit things. Just. She was trying to turn off those lights, those panel lights.
Gift shop.
Yeah, those right there, that line right there. Oh, I think they're on the bookstore side.
How are we gonna know, like, if it's full screen? Are we gonna know?
It just pops up and says, so-and-so wants to join. Let's see, participant, she's not on there yet.
Yeah.
Could invite you again.
Yeah.
Do you have her email?
I do. I've been to the bathroom, but I got home trying to show somebody where it was.
Yes. Hey, Tommy.
Go to the curtains.
Tommy, no. Tommy, would you show her where the restroom is?
Here it is. Sonali Dev at sonalidave.com.
Sonali. Just doing it again, just in case. Ask if we have any downtime, we could.
Okay.
I can talk until
Yeah, I guess.
we can talk about the book.
Okay, okay. Oh, here she is. Here she is.
Okay. All right, we're gonna try. Hopefully y'all can hear. Okay.
Okay. What do we do?
She should pop that.
Hi.
Welcome. Okay, everybody, she's on.
Make it full screen. Yeah.
Hi. Okay,
sorry.
so
Can
can you hear us?
I can hear you. I'm just looking at myself and realize that the main lighting in my room seems to have gone off. But you can see my face.
Oh, no, you look great.
Okay, great.
You look great. Thank you. So we're here with I'm Lori. And
Hey.
this is Lauren, who you've been communicating with. And we have a whole group of people here at our bookstore.
Oh my goodness. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Everyone, thank you for being here.
Who are very excited to be here tonight and talk with you. We just ate some delicious Indian food catered by a local chef. And it was delicious. What was it again, Lauren?
So we had northern ginger chicken curry, and we had mango tarts for dessert that were mentioned in the book.
One
It
of
was
my favorite
delicious.
things. One of my favorite things. One of my least favorite things. One of my favorite things. One of my least favorite things.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This is a real treat for us. We read Recipe for Persuasion, and I was just telling the group before we started how, each book in that series is based on a Jane Austen plotline, roughly. Tell us what about that drew you in or got you interested in interpreting it for today with an Indian culture?
So, I mean, to me, it's not interpreting it to an Indian culture, right? It's the culture. It's who I am. So I don't actually have to think about translating anything into Indian culture. It's, that's how, those are my stories. That's who I am. I'm getting an echo, so I can totally hear myself. Way to stop that?
Yes. That is probably because we have an extra speaker out here so everybody could hear you better. So that's probably what's happening. Let me see if I can lower it a
Can you hear
bit.
me twice too, or is that just?
No, it's just a slight delay on our end.
Okay, so
From
you
the
cannot
speaker.
hear me twice. I can hear myself twice, which is weird.
No.
Okay, okay.
Oh, sorry. That's annoying.
No problem, no problem. There's not, as long as it's not bothering you, it's.
Thank you.
So,
There's just a delay.
the thing is that I read Jane Austen really young. So I was in middle school. I'm going to be a little weird because hearing myself and talking at the same time is a little bit weird until I get used to it.
I'm sorry.
And ironically, it was sixth grade, and the way that I got got pulled into her, introduced to her work was through an Indian TV show, which was
So
they were just telling me if you hit mute on your end while you're speaking, you probably won't hear the reverb going on.
but then you won't hear me if I hit mute.
we'll only hear you.
Okay, sorry, never mind. Keep going. I'm sorry. I was trying to make it better, but I don't think it's gonna work. Sorry, I'm sorry about that.
It sounded like a great idea, and then I'm like, but it is mute and for you not to hear me.
Well, I thought maybe, yeah, you're right. I thought maybe you could mute us somehow while you were
Oh, you know what you could do while I'm talking? You could mute
the volume.
if you muted at your end when I was talking.
Okay, yes,
So
okay,
let's
we'll try that.
Hit mute.
Okay.
I'm gonna say something. Oh, this is perfect. Oh my gosh, this is so much better. All right. All right. Okay, now I can talk without feeling like I'm at the top of Mount Vesuvius, screaming into the crater. Okay. So here we go again. So I was really young when I was introduced to her work, and growing up, and this was, the 80s in Mumbai. And I, the books that we got to read was a lot of classics, a lot of Western literature at the time. And I think it was the first time that I read something where A, there was a female protagonist, and B, there was a female protagonist who wanted things and got them. So, so I actually remember the feeling of first reading Elizabeth Bennet, because here was a woman who did not pander at all. She didn't care about the opinions of the aunties of the world around her, who was opinionated, was loved for it, and who essentially didn't care what the world thought she should think about herself, and chose to think about herself and what she wanted the way she wanted. And this was not something I was seeing in my heroines or in my protagonists across novels. Most of, what I was reading was the heroes were always men. And if there, and the female characters were always in supporting roles. They were always seen as, there was a lot of dolphin clicking. And even that young, I realized that there was a lot of, if you sacrifice, if you put others before you, if you do X, Y, Z, if you stay quiet, if you do, if you're long suffering, you're good. And if you're demanding and desirous, then you're bad. This was kind of the themes of, anytime a female character showed up. And here were books where female characters. So if you think about Elizabeth Bennet, her choice in that book is between destitution and marrying, the 8th richest man in England. By some calculations, that's who Darcy was. And in all her interactions with him, what she had found was that he was a jerk, and she believed that she was worth more, and it was as simple as that. So she had a high enough opinion of herself and her own worth that she chose destitution over the 8th richest man in England. Now, I think even in 2023, that's not an easy thing, for anyone to do. And so here was someone who wrote women that reinforced what I naturally believed about myself, that the world around me was not necessarily reinforcing for me. So so I blame Jane Austen for who I am. And every time, my poor husband gets a lot of take it up with Jane, or needs to take it up with Jane. But yeah, I think that for me, it isn't so much that she is a literary influence. It's more that her stories are an influence, influenced who I became as an adult person. And so my 4 favorite novels, which are the 4 favorite novels I've dealt with in this series, I think of them as my homage to the lessons I learned from her about life. So they really don't have, they're not retellings in a sense of character and plot, plot points. They are really an encapsulation and story form given to the thing I learned from each particular novel about being human and about being a woman. And Recipe for Persuasion, and I'll let you ask more questions, but there was a very specific thing that Recipe for Persuasion taught me, and that's what Persuasion taught me. And I think that's so Recipe for Persuasion, I don't think of it as a retelling, but it's an homage to what that book taught me about love and how it should feel and what it should be, but more importantly, what it taught me about mistakes and second chances after you've made them.
Yeah.
Okay, we're unmuted.
Okay.
Yes, everybody, there's been a lot of nodding and agreeing and smiling as you were speaking the whole time. So I think we all really love that. We're an overwhelmingly crowd full of women right now. So there was a lot of yeses and agreements with that. Did you have a question about that you want to ask?
Thanks. Anybody?
What about the cooking show? Are you a fan of reality cooking shows?
Absolutely. I say that. So of this series, Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors and Recipe for Persuasion both have protagonists who are chefs. So in Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors, the hero is, that's a gender flipped Pride and Prejudice. And he is the Lizzie Bennet and she is the Mr. Darcy, and he's a chef. He's DJ in Recipe for Persuasion. He's the one who's the compere for the show. And so I say that, all the hours I have spent watching Food Network has, was intended to be research, not just me wasting time. But I'm kind of obsessed with Food Network. I, fall asleep almost every night watching Chopped. I find it incredibly relaxing, to have people just work with food and flavors. And I think reality, I'm not a reality TV person outside of, Food Network and probably Naked and Afraid. So there's something, just something incredibly life affirming about feeding people, right? And about paying attention to what hits people's pleasure centers and satisfaction centers. And food is home. Food makes you feel loved. There's my family is very much the kind of family where we discuss at family gatherings where you discuss what you're going to eat for lunch at breakfast and what you're going to eat for dinner at lunch. And our life pretty much revolves around food. Our celebrations, revolve around food. So food is used very much as a love language in my life. And so with these 2 novels, I got a chance to actually use food as, in Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors, DJ actually uses it as a way to unravel people. That's his communication tool. And in Recipe for Persuasion, I think for Ashna, it is the thing that she has used to keep herself from things. So it's almost the exact opposite. It's been punitive, I think, through her life. And so resetting her relationship with it is resetting her relationship with herself in terms of all the things she's punishing herself for or feels punished for. So I just feel like there's such power in in food. Now the Food Network, but this was I used to watch Dancing with the Stars when it was first out. And in fact, when my first few novels came out, when people asked me, what are your big author goals? That would be it. You're a star when you're on Dancing with the Stars. Not so much anymore, but back then. Because, and so then I think that idea kind of had been sitting in my head for a very long time, that because if I don't know if anyone here watches Dancing with the Stars, and I haven't watched it, and I think, at least 7 to 10 years. But when I watched it, I think the most exciting thing was the relationship between, the pairs, right? Between the coach and the star. And you're watching them and going, okay, you're not just teaching each other how to dance. There's more going on there, right? And so between that, and my obsession with, with cooking shows, this seemed like kind of the perfect place for this story to play out. And I'll talk about in terms of what I was saying earlier, what about Persuasion pulled to me. Now tell me how much time I have, because I feel like this could be a long answer. So, okay. So the thing, I grew up, as I said, at a time when, well, in culture, in my family, I think there was this underlying kind of ideology, which said, which was unforgiving of mistakes. So we were, there was this whole thing that was kind of put out, and I think that this is universal, that if you make mistakes, you pay for them with your life, right? Which is not, by that I don't mean death, but by changing, by losing the life that you're supposed to want, right? So if you don't study and get into the college, of your dreams, then you lose your career and therefore lose your life. If you don't, if you get mixed up with the wrong sort of people and your reputation is damaged, you won't, make the right kind of marriage, and then, your white picket fence, 2 kids, 2.5 kids life is gone. So you make a mistake, and the life you're supposed to have is gone. And there was this, and I think it's a culture of fear that was used to control, what we did and how we behaved. And when I read Persuasion, I think the thing that jumped up at me was the fact that here are 2 very young people who find something precious, and it doesn't work for the world around them, because it breaks the structures and the systems that the world around them once reinforced. And it's a matter of class and economics for them. And for the benefit of society, they are told that this is a wrong choice for them. And they believe it because our families and the people who are supposed to love and nurture us are supposed to tell us the truth. And so when we believe them, that's a natural thing when you're that young. And so Anne loses something precious, and as does, oh my gosh, as does Frederick Wentworth. They lose something precious because of people outside of themselves, but it's also a matter of them not having the spine to stand up for what they want, and losing something. And then having a second chance at growing the spine, not just getting the thing back, but understanding what in their own behavior caused them to lose a thing that was precious, building that. And so it's really, in the end, a journey of self-development, right? Getting to a place where you do grow into a person who has that spine, who says, no, these are lies society is telling me. No, this is the guy for me. He may not be from, whatever, may not come with the last name, or whatever lies we're told, right? This is not the right person for you. This is not the right life for you. It's growing to understand, no, what do I want for myself? And I think that was the thing that that Persuasion taught me, that there will always be another chance if you do the work. And I think that for me, that is, Ashna and Rico's story, is that when all of this happens, they are victims of circumstance in terms of society, right? Her family, everything that's happening in her parents' marriage, she's collateral damage. And she believes that story, and she loses something precious. And so to me, it was a journey of her understanding that that nobody's going to come and tell her you're worthy of this, or, she's going to have to build that muscle herself and do the forgiving, herself, her mom, all of that, right? She's going to have to grow up. And so that was, that's what this story really is for me. And then Frederick Wentworth is, of course, a military man. So it's a very intrinsic part of his personality. And I was trying to think, and I didn't want, I was like, what does that personality, without being toxic, translate to in today's world? And and athletes, for everything else that happens, I mean, I don't want to say, I'm not going to go into the toxicity of whatever that culture is, but in terms of personality, athletes in today's world are are warriors to a point where they can bring everything down to that one enemy they have to defeat or whatever. So that entire focus, or that love, that goal orientedness, all of that happens with athletes, which I was able to give Rico. And that was kind of the piece that that was important to me. And it's timed, you retire. It's not a thing that and so then you have to build your identity and then lose it, which is kind of where he's at in this book. They both are at a point where they have to change their mind about what they believe about themselves. And without doing that, they can't take the next step, which is, do this for real this time.
Yeah, that is so good. What say a minute about one of the major second chances is the mom, right? Asha's mom. And like, there's a lot of parents in the room, and everybody's always worried about making the mistake that will not be forgiven. What kind of inspired their story for you?
So Shobhi for me was another little a lot of my writing is me trying to figure stuff out, right? About life and what I believe about it, and about what I was taught growing up, right? Just bursting the myths for myself. And another story that we were raised with, and again, when you think of, this was definitely, very overt in the Indian culture. I think it happens in a more silent way universally, but there was this trope in Bollywood films, in stories we were told in the world around us, where your parents knew best, right? What was good for you. And so there was this classic trope in Hindi movies, in Bollywood films, where where a young woman and man are in love, and the families come in and say, oh my gosh, this is not the person for you. Here is the person who we choose for you, and believe this is where your happiness lies. And that marriage happens, and the women the women accept, right? This is what I have, and now I'm going to make the best of it. And in doing so, actually find happiness and really great lives. That is the heart of this arranged marriage trope, right? That you're forced into a situation and then love happens there. Now, that's all good and dandy, because you can, if you look at it from the point of view that you can always find your own happiness in any situation, that's all great. But as a young person, for me, when these stories were told, to me, it landed as, this is such a flawed message to be giving young people, because essentially what you're telling young women is that someone other than you knows what's best for you, right? That when you put your head down and do what is right for everyone else, happiness happens. So I've always wanted to kind of write a character who says, no, I will not be happy. I will not make this okay for everyone else because I have now landed in the situation. Shobhi could have said, you know what? Bram's fine. I'll just fix him or whatever, right? I'll figure out a way to make our marriage work. And it would have worked. He might have turned into, everything could have gone the way of, but that's not the life she wanted. That is not the man she wanted. That is not what she wanted. And she says no. And we are told that there will be collateral damage. If you walk out of uncomfortable situations without thinking about everyone else, your children will suffer, your families will suffer, there will be collateral damage. And of course, it's true because you're putting us in situations where there will be collateral damage, right? You've created a world where that will happen. And in this particular story, Ashna is collateral damage, right? And that does happen. So Shobi says no. The awful things she's been told will happen do happen. And I didn't want to end it there. I wanted to push that past that fire. I wanted her to walk through that fire and come out on the other side and then make it okay. And so for me, that's what it was. It was when we make difficult decisions, bad stuff happens. But that's all we're told, right? Bad stuff always happens. And even in this situation, even if we created the bad stuff, we can take it to the other side, right? Through honesty or whatever. And so that's her ultimate second chance, is her taking responsibility for what happened, but also, being clear about how much of that is hers, how much of it isn't, and the fact that that's not the important part. The important part is that now these two women have, the rest of their lives ahead of them.
Okay, we have a question from the audience. Someone wants to know if these are the rest of the books written at the same time as this one, like is DJ's book at the same time as Ashna's storyline?
So when this book happens, DJ and Trisha are already together. So this one follows close after, like as that book is finishing off, this one is kind of, getting started. So these two follow. So they are a true series where one follows the other, follows the other. The series itself is set under a series arc, which is the oldest brother running for California governor. So in Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors, Yash announces his campaign. In Recipe for Persuasion, that campaign is, going forward. And then in Sense and Sensibility, it's actually Yash's story, which is, the campaign and the election itself. And the Emma Project is right after, right before he takes office.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about what got you interested? I listened to a bit of a podcast you did, and you had a whole nother background or a whole nother career, correct, before you became a published author. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey in that regard?
Yes. So I've always, always written. I've always been, that's always been the thing I wanted to do. But of course, it isn't, I was also raised in a family where you were expected to stand on your own 2 feet and feed yourself and support your family. And writing isn't quite the most reliable way to do that. So I went to architecture school. I practiced as an architect for very few years and then naturally moved on to architectural journalism. And then that kind of segued into writing about technology and segued into technical writing. And so I worked as a technical writer for I think a good almost 20 years. And then finally, so I did this then, for about 10 years in parallel. And then I think around 2016, 2017, I started to write full time.
Well, congratulations, because I was telling them we had heard about the Vibrant Years, and this is the latest book, correct? And it was chosen for Mindy Kaling's book studio. So tell us about that. What does that mean? Does it mean anything beyond the book, or does this lead to television or movies?
That is so. So it has been optioned by Amazon, by Prime and Mindy together. And so, as you know, an option is the first step toward it becoming a film. It's been optioned for film, so the chances are that it will be film, not series. The Rajes, the Jane Austen books have also been optioned for series. So yeah, I'm hopefully stay tuned, and good news coming. So it's been very exciting.
Speaking of that, do you have a favorite film adaptation of a Jane Austen book?
So there's a couple things. I of course have very strong feelings about every one of them, but I think that one of my favorite adaptations across Jane Austen, in book form, is Bridget Jones' Diary, because to me, I think an adaptation cannot be a simple, or I shouldn't say cannot be. It can be, I'm sure. But for me, Jane Austen already told that story well. So to take that story and to change its, its setting and the names of the characters is a very clever way of doing it. But the important thing to me, I think, is what does the author bring to it? What they do with those themes, whether it is simply social commentary or, speaking to things like, how we deal with prejudices and classes and all of that. And so I think Bridget Jones's Diary did a really great job of, of providing the nod to, to this whole idea of the perfect Mr. Darcy. But it really, in the end, was about, about what it means to be a woman in today's world, right? To some extent. And so Bridget Jones' Diary was the, was one of those books where I was like, oh my gosh, this is me. Like, I felt incredibly seen. And so I think that, and of course, it's hilarious and brilliantly written and all of that. I'm not as much of a fan of the movies as I am of that book. But I think as a film adaptation, so if you took the faithful adaptations, I think, and this is an unpopular opinion, I really love the Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadden. So I think it is the 2008, is that 2000 film of Pride and Prejudice. And most people frown upon anyone who says that that is actually better than the Colin Firth version. To me, Matthew McFadden is a much more authentic and true to the original Mr. Darcy, simply because he's younger, he has that vulnerability. I think Colin Firth is only focuses on the, on the more harsh and, and prideful and confident, all the parts of Darcy that to me were not as interesting as the vulnerability, as the having his, socks knocked off, when he comes across a woman who tells him, you actually aren't hot shit, you're really a terrible person. And him going, holy shit, I have been a terrible person. Like, that to me is the beautiful part, that he is able to. And I think Matthew McFadden does it very well. And for that reason, that's one of my favorite film adaptations. I do really love the BBC Sense and Sensibility. So I'm not, again, a fan of the film, although I love Marianne, Kate Winslet doing Marianne, again, unpopular opinion. Emma Thompson, whom I love so much in so many things, I think massacres Eleanor. And, in the film, but the Eleanor in the BBC version is sublime. Like, she has, exactly who I, think, I think Eleanor is. I can't remember her name at this point. Persuasion has been one that has just, I think, suffered endlessly at the hands of BBC and everyone else. It's just, again, I think Wentworth has been played really well by, I think, both, who was it? Oh my gosh, Rupert, what is his last name? I'm going to mix it up. And then whoever Hines. Oh, Kieran Hines. Okay, so Wentworth, again, is, has been played well. I think Anne is an incredibly difficult person to play, simply because it is so easy to play her as a spineless, as a spineless Muppet, for lack of a better word. But she has so much more to her, right? She just has her spine just manifests differently. And I think that's the most important thing about her, how strong she is in terms of empathy, of always choosing to be good. Like, these are not things that are spineless, but everyone who's played her has played her in this way that just, for me, feels like, come on, where's Anne? Where's the Ashna in here? So I would, yeah, she either, they either make her kind of cutesy, or they have, I just haven't seen Anne played well. That's a long answer.
Well, I just have a
That's
question.
long answer.
I just have a question about the food that's mentioned in the book, because that's what I do. But are those recipes that you make or you grew up eating? And I especially want to know about the crispy okra appetizer that was mentioned. That sounded really interesting to me. So I just wanted to hear a little bit more about that.
So I do make up a lot of these recipes based on, we travel a lot. And I think one of my favorite things about this particular book was, was kind of getting cultures to speak to each other and communicate through food. And there's a very interesting piece of, piece here, which is that the Portuguese colonized India, a part of India, for many, many years. In fact, Goa was a Portuguese colony up until the 1960s. And of course, Brazil was a Portuguese colony. And so there is a lot of, there's an overlap in food culturally between the part that is Goa, which is near Maharashtra, where the Rajas are from, and Brazilian food. There's a lot of coconut and cashew nut and mango and all the things that the Portuguese brought to the colonies, and tapioca. And I kind of wanted to play with the thing that both these characters have grown up with this stuff, but in such different ways, or their cultures have done different things with. With the same ingredients in kind of similar ways. There's also words that are used for both things in Marathi and in Goan and in Portuguese are actually the same words. So in Brazil and in India, parts of India, the same words are used for the same things. But yes, and as so I really had fun playing with that and bringing in a lot of the street food that we ate when we were in Brazil that kind of reminded me so much of the street food I ate growing up in India. So a lot of that food in this particular book is from there. Now the okra thing is, it's one of my husband's favorite vegetables. I hated it growing up because of the slime, but Indian, the way that you cook okra in Indian food generally removes the slime component, and one of the best ways to remove the slime component entirely and make okra taste like a dream, which it does not when there is any hint of slime, is to deep fry it until crisp, and and to slice it really thin. And so there is that is a form of that recipe, something I make a lot of. So the okra was for my husband.
Well, you've had a lot of consensus and nods because, we're in the South. We eat a lot of okra, and fried definitely is one of the best ways to go. So we are all in heavy agreement about that. Did anybody have any other questions that you wanted to ask before we asked when we already got one? Okay, Mr. Reed. Yeah, come on over. So
Here, you can have my phone.
here, I'm going to let you sit. This is Mr. Jack Reed. He is the proprietor of our establishment. Sorry, we're kind of dark because we needed to see you better. So,
Well, welcome to our bookstore. Our
Thank you.
store is 118 years old. So you're
honored.
the most recent author we've ever had. So thank you. And one of the best. Interestingly, our family is going to a Sikh and Christian wedding next week. Friday Sikh, Saturday Christian. Is there anything, and we have our attire ready for each, but is there anything that this young couple should be aware of? Is the love language of the Sikhs from India and American Christian, is there anything they should be aware of in their marriage, which was not chosen by their parents, by the way.
Well, I would say to anyone who is getting married, only one thing. Good luck. It's never an easy road, but the pieces of it, right? As I mean, anyone who's been married for any period of time knows that I think it's that's are you going to are they doing the Sikh ceremony in a Sikh temple? Are they doing it at a Gurudwara? Do you know? Anyway, I digress.
Yeah,
but
it-
I digress.
it will not be in a temple. It will be in a nice facility, but not a temple.
No, so it's going to be a beautiful ceremony. I have no doubt. I Indian weddings and
The
clothes,
groom is arrived.
Indian weddings,
The groom is arriving on a white steed, however.
of course. So is the groom Indian or is the bride Indian?
The groom is actually a second generation American, but both of his parents are first generation, both from India.
Okay, all right. So, but he's the Sikh one. And it will not, so the technicality is that it will not be, it's going to be a mare. The horse is always female, or traditionally that's what it's supposed to be, is that you ride in on a mare, not on a male horse. I don't know what that is. I should go and check why that is, but that's the. So yeah, I mean, you could probably give as good advice in marriage as I could, but I think patience, kindness, and I have this thing I always say to all my nieces and nephews, that the two things that I think you need, to make marriage work is having a really good memory and having a really bad memory, and by that I mean. How you're feeling on your wedding day or at your high points, you have to remember that and hold on to it really tight. And when you want to kill each other, you have to really forget quickly as you can, and move away from. So I think it's all a play of how you control your memory. You never hold on to the bad things for too long, and you never forget the good things for too long. And that's always my best marriage advice.
That's excellent advice. I'll pass that on to my wife. Thank you.
Well, we have taken up so much of your time. Thank you so much for being with us. We all really, really enjoyed it. Wait, they want you to hear them clap for you. Okay.
Whoa.
So thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and your
you.
work and your voice, and we're excited to hear more. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, and
Okay.
thank you for having me. This was very fun.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.